Hey guys, in this video, we will understand the detailed explanation of the topic periodic trends in atomic radius. And by the end of this video, I will make sure that you can answer any question related to this topic. So make sure you watch this video till the end. But what are we actually going to learn from this video? Let's see that. We will understand how the atomic radius varies as we move across the period and as we move along the group. In simple words, we will see whether the atomic radius increases or decreases as we move across the period, that is from left to right, and we will understand whether the atomic radius increases or decreases as we move along the group from top to bottom. But guys, have you ever wondered that why does the atomic radius vary along the period and group? This is mainly because of three factors. So first of all, we will understand those three factors and then we will understand how the atomic radius is going to vary along the period and group. Now to understand those factors, let us move on to my book. So basically there are three factors that are responsible for changes in the properties. The first one is number of energy levels. Now this energy level is also called as shell. So let us understand how this factor is going to affect the properties of the elements. So for that, what I am going to do is that I am going to consider a sodium atom which is present in the third period. Okay, and as we all know that the electronic configuration for sodium is nothing but 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 and 3s1. Now if I want to show this sodium atom diagrammatically, so what I am going to do is that first of all I am going to draw a positively charged nucleus over here. Okay, now in the first energy level, there are only 2 electrons present. Okay, next in the second energy level, there are 2 plus 6, total 8 electrons present. Am I right? And if I consider the third energy level, so inside this third energy level there is only 1 electron present. Okay. So this is an atom of sodium. Similarly, what I am going to do is now I am going to consider an atom of potassium which is present in the fourth period. Okay, so as we all know that the electronic configuration of potassium is nothing but 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6 and 4s1. First of all, if I want to show this potassium atom diagrammatically, what I am going to do, I am going to draw a positively charged nucleus over here. Then in the first energy level, my drawing is not good over here guys. So in the first energy level there are 2 electrons. Okay, now in the second energy level, again there are 2 plus 6, 8 electrons. And if I show the third energy level, so inside this third energy level again there are 2 plus 6, 8 electrons. Okay guys, and here there is one more energy level, that is nothing but the fourth energy level. So inside this fourth energy level there is 1 electron. Now What I want you all to observe over here is that this sodium atom is nothing but present in the third period. Am I right? It is present in the third period, and this potassium atom is present in the fourth period. And if you observe one thing over here is that sodium is present in the third period, therefore it has 3 energy levels. Whereas potassium, which is present in the fourth period, has 4 energy levels. So can I say, guys, the period number indicates how many energy levels are going to be present inside a atom. So if I consider any atom in the fourth period, all of them are going to have 4 energy levels. Similarly, if I consider any atom present inside the fifth period, are going to have 5 different energy levels. Okay, so whether it be your first period or whether it be your second period, all the period number are going to indicate the respective number of energy levels present inside the atom. Now if I consider the first group, okay, now in the lithium there are 2 energy levels. When I move from lithium to sodium, I get 3 energy levels. So can I say, as I moved from lithium to sodium, there is increment in energy level by 1. One energy level is getting added. Similarly, as I move from sodium to potassium, again one more energy level is getting added. And again, if I move from potassium to your rubidium, then again there is one more energy level added. Similarly, can I say, if you consider any of the groups, then as you move from one period to the next period, that if you move from the fourth period to the fifth period, one energy level is going to get added. As you move from the fifth period to the sixth period, again one more energy level is going to get added. So along the group, if you move from top to bottom, there will be increment in the energy level by 1. Am I right? So since there is an increase in the energy level, this is going to affect the properties. Now how it is going to affect, that we will see when we understand the properties individually afterwards. Just now, for now, you need to keep in mind that as you move along the group, there is increment in the energy level. Okay. Similarly, if I consider the second factor is nothing but nuclear charge. Now what is the meaning of this? From the name itself we can see nucleus. So nuclear charge nothing but the charge of the nucleus. So the charge of this positively charged nucleus is nothing but known as the nuclear charge. Now can I say that this charge of the nucleus, which is nothing but the nuclear charge, is because of the protons present inside the nucleus? As we all know that the protons are positively charged. So when all these protons are present inside this nucleus, therefore the charge of the nucleus is positive. Now, what I want to tell you all here is that number of protons is directly proportional to the nuclear charge. Now, what is the meaning of this? If the number of protons is greater, then it is obvious that the nuclear charge will also be greater, because this nuclear charge completely depends on the protons. Greater the number of protons, the nuclear charge will be greater. Similarly, if the number of protons is less, then it is obvious that your nuclear charge is also going to be less. And if I ask you one question, how do you get to know the number of protons present inside the atom? This number of protons is nothing but the atomic number. So if the atomic number of this particular sodium is 11, which means that there are 11 protons present inside this nucleus. So the atomic number is going to tell you all the number of protons present inside the nucleus. So now if the number of protons is completely dependent on the atomic number, can I say that the atomic number is directly proportional to protons? Because if you increase the atomic number, then it is obvious that the protons in the nucleus are also going to increase. And as we have seen over here, that the number of protons is also directly proportional to the nuclear charge. So can I relate all three of them as, suppose if I increase the atomic number. So if I increase the atomic number, then it is obvious that the number of protons inside the nucleus are going to increase. So if the number of protons is going to increase, then it is obvious that the nuclear charge of the nucleus is also going to increase. Similarly, if I decrease the atomic number, it is obvious that the nucleus will contain less number of protons. And if the nucleus contains less number of protons, then obviously the nuclear charge will also be less. Now, can I relate both of them directly? That greater the atomic number, greater will be the nuclear charge, less the atomic number, less will be the nuclear charge, as they all are directly proportional to each other. I hope you have understood how nuclear charge is going to vary according to the elements because of the change in atomic number. Now, the third factor is nothing but the most important factor actually. You need to understand this. The shielding effect, which is also known as the screening effect. Okay. Now, what is this shielding effect all about? Let's understand this. Suppose if I consider a sodium atom again. So I have a positively charged nucleus over here. In the first energy level, I am going to have 2 electrons. In the second energy level, as we all have seen, there will be 8 electrons. And in the third energy level, there will be only 1 electron present. Okay. Now what happens in shielding effect is that, let's understand that. See, this nuclear charge which is present on this nucleus. So can I say that this nuclear charge is positively charged? Am I right? This nucleus is positively charged and these electrons are negatively charged. Now since the nucleus is positively charged and the electrons are negatively charged, and as we all know that the opposite charges are going to attract each other. Now since they attract each other, there is Coulombic force of attraction present between them. So there is a Coulombic force of attraction present between a positively charged nucleus and the electrons which are around the nucleus. Because of this Coulombic force of attraction, these electrons are not allowed to move outside the atom, and because of the presence of the Coulombic force of attraction, the electrons remain bounded to the nucleus. If there would have been absence of Coulombic force of attraction, then it is obvious that the electrons would have easily moved outside of the atom. Now this is only because of the Coulombic force of attraction that the electrons are bounded to the nucleus. Now what happens is that, suppose if I consider this electron and the nucleus. Now since this nucleus is positively charged and this electron is negatively charged, therefore this nucleus will try to attract this electron towards itself. But while it is attracting, what happens is that the electrons which are present inside the second energy level, so these electrons are going to repel, they are going to repel this electron away. Why they are going to repel? Because these electrons are negatively charged and this electron is also negatively charged, and as we all know that the like charges repel each other. So whenever this electron tries to come closer to the nucleus, it will be repelled by the electrons present in the inner energy level. Similarly, when this electron, the electron which is present in the second energy level, tries to come towards the nucleus, it will be repelled away by the electron which is present in the first energy level. So can I say that the inner energy level electrons, the inner energy level electrons repel outer energy level electrons? Am I right? The second energy level electrons are repelling the third energy level electron. The first energy level electrons are repelling the second energy level electrons. So similarly, can I say that the inner energy level electrons are going to repel the outer energy level electrons? So this is known as the shielding effect. Now why it is known as the shielding effect? Why it is being given the name as shielding? Because these second level energy level electrons act as a shield. They act as a shield for this third energy level electron and does not allow this electron to get pulled towards the nucleus. The nucleus is trying to pull this negatively charged electron towards itself, but these electrons, the energy levels electrons, are acting like a shield for this third energy level electrons, and they are not allowing this third energy level electron to come near to the nucleus, and they are trying to push him away and help him to not get towards the nucleus. I hope you have understood what is shielding effect. We will understand this shielding effect in depth as we understand the atomic size, variation in atomic size properties very soon. So I hope guys you have understood the three basic factors that are responsible for changes in the properties. Now I would like to mention one thing over here guys. Whichever diagram I have drawn over here, if I consider this diagram, now these circles which I have drawn, these circles are nothing but energy levels. They are energy levels. I have represented the energy levels with the help of these circles. These circles are not orbits. These circles are not orbits. And let me tell you all guys that many of you have a misconception that electrons revolve in an orbit. That is the biggest misconception that you all have when it comes to chemistry. Electrons do not revolve in orbits, and let me clear myself that these circular paths are not orbits. Instead, I have represented the circular, I have drawn the circular paths to represent the energy levels. I repeat myself again. These circular paths are not orbits. These circular paths I have drawn to represent the energy levels. Now what is the difference between the energy levels and orbits? If you all don't know that, guys, then please I request you all to clear the basic concepts of chemistry. And if I want to know the difference and the real fact behind the atom structure of an atom, then guys, I have already made one video on quantum numbers and shapes of orbital. Now you might be thinking that you all know what is quantum numbers and shapes of orbital, but no guys, in that video I have explained many concepts which are going to help you all a lot. I'm seriously telling you all that these concepts are going to help you all a lot. So guys, make sure you watch that video. The link is given in the description box below, or you all can simply click on this link which is present on the I button over here. And if you all watch that video, guys, minimum 2 to 3 questions will be asked in the JEE from that one particular video. So I hope you guys will watch that video. Now this atomic radius is going to change across the period, which means that if you consider a particular period and if you move from left to right, it is obvious that the atomic radius of the elements is going to vary, and it is also going to change as you move along the group. So if you consider any of the group and if you move from top to bottom, it is obvious that the atomic radius of the elements is going to change. Okay, so first of all we will understand how the atomic radius changes as we move across the period. So as we move from left to right, we will understand that first. Okay, so for that I have a periodic table over here, and as we all know that this periodic table is basically divided into four different blocks: the S block, the D block, the P block, and the F block. Now, to understand how the atomic radius changes across the period, we need to consider one period for example. So for that I am going to consider the fourth period. Why I am considering this fourth period? Because this fourth period has the S block elements, it has D block elements, as well as it has P block elements. So it is covering almost elements of three different blocks. So it will obviously enlarge our knowledge how the atomic radius changes in particular blocks. Okay, don't worry, I will also cover the F block elements, don't worry about that. Okay, so as we all know that in this fourth period, the potassium and calcium is present inside the S block elements, whereas the elements starting from scandium to zinc are present in the D block element, and the elements starting from gallium to krypton are present in the P block elements. Okay, so first of all, we are going to understand the change in the atomic radii for S block elements present in the fourth period. Okay, now as we all know that there are only two S block elements present inside the fourth period, which are those, the nothing but potassium and calcium. And the observed atomic radii of potassium atom is 280 picometer, and that of calcium is 231 picometer. So here you can see that as we move from potassium to calcium, there is a drastic change taking place in the atomic radius. Now why is their atomic radius changing? Let's understand that. So which was our first factor? Number of energy levels. So let's see whether number of energy level is going to affect the atomic radius. Now, as we all know that this number of energy level completely depends on the period number, and both of them, potassium and calcium, both of them are present in the fourth period. Now since both of them are present in the fourth period, therefore both of them are going to have 4 energy levels. So can I say that potassium and calcium, both of them are having same number of energy levels, and since they have same number of energy levels, so the number of energy levels cannot be the differentiating factor for the atomic radius. Am I right? Since they are having same number of energy levels, So this factor is not going to affect the change in the atomic radius. Now let us move on to the second and third. So before moving on to the second and third, I would like to draw the structural uh, diagram of the potassium as well as calcium atom. So as we all know that the atomic electronic configuration of potassium is nothing but 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6 and 4s1. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a positively charged nucleus, and inside this nucleus can I say that there are 19 protons. Now why there are 19 protons? Because the atomic number of potassium is 19, therefore it is obvious that there will be 19 protons inside the nucleus. Now I draw the first energy level. So inside this first energy level, I know that there are only 2 electrons present. Inside the second energy level, there are 2 plus 6, 8 electrons present. Okay. So I am going to draw 8 electrons quickly. Okay. Now inside the third energy level, there are again 2 plus 6, total 8 electrons present. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I am drawing roughly, guys, please understand. Now with the fourth energy level, there is only 1 electron present. Am I right? Okay. Now what is the electronic configuration of calcium? It is nothing but 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2. Now you might be wondering how I am writing so fast. So for that, I have already made one video in which I have explained how you can write the electronic configuration in just 3 seconds. If you wish to watch that video, then the link is given in the description box below, or you can simply click on this link over here. Okay, now guys, on the basis of this, I am going to draw the diagram of calcium. And as we all know, inside the calcium, the nucleus, there are 20 protons. Why there are 20 protons? Because the atomic number of calcium is nothing but 20. So it is obvious that the nucleus will also contain 20 protons. Now I draw the first energy level. Now inside the first energy level, I know that there are 2 electrons. Inside the second energy level, I can know that inside the second energy level there are 2 plus 6, 8 electrons. Am I right, guys? And inside the third energy level, there are 2 plus 6, again 8 electrons. Okay, and inside the fourth energy level, here there are 2 electrons instead of 1 electron in the potassium atom. Now let us move back to our second condition, which is nothing but the nuclear charge. So can nuclear charge be the differentiating factor between both of them? Obviously yes, because the nuclear charge completely depends on the number of protons present inside the nucleus. As you can see over here, calcium has greater number of protons present in the nucleus. As there are greater number of protons present inside the nucleus, then obviously the nuclear charge of calcium is greater. And as the nuclear charge of calcium is greater, therefore this nucleus will try to pull the electrons towards itself. Even this nucleus is trying to pull the electrons towards itself, but the nuclear charge over here is less as compared to the nuclear charge in the calcium atom. So as the nuclear charge in the calcium atom is greater, therefore all these electrons are going to be pulled towards the nucleus. Yes, there will be shielding effect, but it is obvious that the nuclear charge is superior than the shielding effect. Shielding effect will act, shielding effect will try to repel the electrons. That is the latter part. But the nuclear charge is obviously superior. It is going to pull them somewhat closer towards itself. Am I right, guys? Done? Now, since the nuclear charge is in the calcium is greater, therefore the calcium has lesser atomic radii. So can I say, guys, that the nuclear charge is inversely proportional to the atomic radii? Why? Because if the nuclear charge is greater, then it is obvious that the atomic radius will be less. Why? Because if there is greater nuclear charge, then the nucleus will pull the electrons towards itself and the size will automatically shrink. Okay, and if the nuclear charge is less, like in the case of potassium, the atomic radii will be greater. So I hope, guys, you have understood why potassium has greater atomic radii as compared to the calcium. I think this part is clear. Now let's understand whether our third factor is affecting or not. What was the third factor? Shielding effect. Am I right? What is shielding effect? Shielding effect is nothing but the shield provided by the inner electrons. So here, can I say that the first energy level electrons are going to provide the shield to the second energy level electrons? So can I say that the second energy level electrons are getting shielded by 2 electrons? Similarly, here also the second energy level electrons are getting shielded by the 2 electrons. Whereas here the third energy level electron are getting shielded by the 8 electrons present inside the second energy level. Here also the third energy level electrons are getting shielded by the 8 electrons present inside the second energy level, and the fourth energy level electrons are also getting shielded here by 8 electrons present in the third energy level, and the fourth energy level electrons here are also getting shielded by 8 electrons present inside the third energy level. So what you have observed over here is that the number of electrons inside the inner energy level for potassium and calcium is same. Now since the number of electrons that are shielding is same, then it is obvious that both of them are going to experience the same amount of shielding effect. Now since both of them are going to experience same amount of shielding effect, then it is obvious that shielding effect cannot be the differentiating factor for the change in atomic radius. So I hope, guys, you have understood for S block elements as we move from left to right, that is as we move from potassium to calcium. Can you see over here? As you are moving from potassium to calcium, that is from left to right, the atomic radii is decreasing. So I hope you have understood that for S block elements, as you move from left to right, the atomic radii is going to decrease. Similarly, let's understand for the P block elements which are present in the fourth period. So inside the fourth period, these are those P block elements starting from gallium to krypton. Am I right? Now, for understanding the periodic trend in the P block, I am not going to consider all these 6 elements. Instead, I am going to consider only the 2 elements. For example, let's consider arsenic and selenium. Okay. So as we all know, for S, so for p block elements, I am considering arsenic and selenium. Okay guys, now the atomic radius of arsenic turns out to be 114 picometer, whereas the atomic radius of selenium is 103 picometer. Now here even this is a drastic change, because here the size is already very less and it is getting shrinked by 11 picometer. Now why is this size shrinking? Let's understand that. So the first factor, that is nothing but number of energy levels. So this number of energy level depends on the period number, am I right? And these both arsenic and selenium, they both are present in the fourth period, so it is obvious that the arsenic and selenium are going to have 4 different energy levels. Now since the number of energy levels is same, this cannot be the factor, the differentiating factor for the change in the atomic radii. So it is not going to affect, because they both are having 4 different energy levels, so it is not going to happen that because of this factor the atomic radii is changing. No, not like that. Similarly, let's consider the second one. Like the previous for S block we did, I am going to first draw the models, their models. Okay, so the electronic configuration for arsenic comes out to be 1s square, 2s square, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2. I'm writing below guys now. 3d10 and 4p3. Okay, now here arsenic, can you see over here that this arsenic atomic number is 33, so it is obvious that there will be 33 protons, protons inside the nucleus. Now in the first energy level, there are 2 electrons. In the second energy level, there are 2 plus 6, 8 electrons. And inside the third energy level, there are 2 plus 6, again 8 electrons. Okay, and inside the fourth energy level, there are 3 plus 2, 5 electrons. Now don't forget these 10 electrons of 3D. Okay, so here we have to add more 10 electrons. Okay, so I have added the 10 electrons inside the third energy level. Now what is the electronic configuration of selenium? The electronic configuration of selenium, it is nothing but 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d10, 4p4. So I'm going to draw a nucleus, and inside the nucleus of selenium there will be 34 protons, because this atomic number is 34 of selenium. Okay, now guys, inside the first energy level there are 2 electrons. Inside the second energy level there are 2 plus 6, 8 electrons. Okay, inside the third energy level there are 2 plus 6, again 8 electrons, and these 10, so total of 18 electrons. I hope I have drawn 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, 18 electrons. And inside the fourth energy level, there are 2 plus 4, 6 electrons. Now, let's understand why the size of selenium is less than arsenic. So, our second factor. Guys, I have drawn selenium greater over here because this is my rough diagram. Don't think that selenium has greater size than arsenic. No, arsenic has greater size than selenium. Okay, now the second factor, that was nothing but our nuclear charge. So it is obvious that selenium is going to have greater nuclear charge as it has 34 protons present inside the nucleus. So greater number of protons, greater will be the nuclear charge, and greater the nuclear charge, less will be the atomic radii. Am I right? So can I say that a differentiating factor between arsenic and selenium is nothing but the nuclear charge. The difference in nuclear charge is causing the atomic radius to change. Now, our third factor, that was nothing but shielding effect. Okay, now is shielding effect going to affect, guys? Obviously no. Why? Because the second energy level is getting shielded by 2 electrons. Here also the second energy level is getting shielded by 2 electrons. The third energy level is getting shielded by 8 electrons. Here also the third energy level is getting shielded by 8 electrons. The fourth energy level is being getting shielded by 18 electrons. Similarly, guys, the fourth energy level, electrons are getting shielded by 18 electrons. So can I say that the outer energy level electrons are getting shielded by same number of inner energy level electrons in both arsenic as well as selenium? So shielding effect of experienced by both of them is same. So shielding effect cannot be the differentiating factor for the change in atomic radius. Am I right, guys? So I hope you have understood. Even for p block elements, as we move from left to right, the atomic radius is going to decrease. So guys, you need to pay attention over here for the d block elements present in the fourth period. Now, as we all know that there are 10 d blocks elements present inside the fourth period, starting from scandium to zinc. There are total 10 elements, but for our understanding we are just going to consider only the starting 3 elements, so that it is easier for us to understand them. If we cover all 10 elements, then the lecture won't get over. So if you understand the trend in the first 3 elements, then it is obvious that you will understand the trend in the remaining 7 elements also. Okay, so basically I'm going to consider scandium, titanium and vanadium for our reference. So starting off with their atomic radii. So the atomic radius of scandium turns out to be 230 picometer. The atomic radius of titanium is 215 picometer. The atomic radius of vanadium is 205 picometer. Now guys, if you'll observe one thing carefully over here, is that the atomic radius is decreasing Yes, it is decreasing as you are moving from left to right, but it is not decreasing drastically like the S block elements. It is decreasing in very small amount. Now why it is not decreasing drastically and why it is decreasing in small amounts, let's understand that. So the factors responsible for decrease in the atomic radius, let's understand those. The first factor, energy levels. Can the number of energy levels be that factor which is causing the difference in the radius? Obviously not. Why? Because all of them are having 4 energy levels. Why they are having 4 energy levels? Because they are present in the fourth period. So it is obvious that they will be having 4 energy levels. So since all of them have same number of energy levels, therefore number of energy levels cannot be the factor which is causing the difference in the atomic radius. The second factor. What is our second factor? So before moving on to the second factor, I would like to draw their diagrammatic representation first. So if I draw for scandium, what is the electronic configuration of scandium? It is nothing but 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2 and 3d1. Okay. Now guys, as we all know that the atomic number of scandium is nothing but 21. So inside the nucleus, it is obvious that inside the nucleus there will be 21 protons present. Am I right? Now we draw the first energy level. Now inside this first energy level there are only 2 electrons present. Okay. Now inside this second energy level there are 2 plus 6, 8 electrons present. Now before moving on to the third energy level, I would like to move to the diagrammatic representation of titanium. There is a reason behind it, okay, that we will understand later on. So as we all know that the electronic atomic number of titanium is nothing but 22. Therefore it is obvious that there will be 22 protons present inside the nucleus. And the electronic configuration of titanium is nothing but 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d2. Okay. So we draw the first energy level. Okay. Now inside this first energy level there are obviously 2 electrons present. Inside this second energy level there are again 2 plus 6, 8 electrons present. Now again I am going to stop the diagram over here. Moving on with the vanadium. So the electronic configuration of vanadium is nothing but 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2 and 3d3. So again the atomic number of vanadium is 23, therefore it is obvious that there will be 23 protons present in the nucleus. So I draw the first energy level. Sorry guys, my diagram is very dirty. So inside this first energy level I have 2 electrons. Now inside this second energy level I have 2 plus 6, total 8 electrons. Okay guys, now I stop the diagram here only. I won't be drawing the third and the fourth energy level. There is a reason behind this. But one thing I want to tell you all is that if we consider the second, factor. What is the second factor? Nuclear charge. Okay, so here there are 21 protons present inside the nucleus. Here there are 22 protons. Here there are 23 protons. So it is obvious that as you are moving from left to right, the number of protons is increasing. And since the number of protons is increasing, it is obvious that the nuclear charge is also increasing. And as we all know that if the nuclear charge is increasing, then the nucleus will try to pull the electrons towards itself. And when it tries to pull the electrons towards itself, then it is obvious that the atomic radius is going to decrease. So if the nuclear charge is greater, as I told earlier, the atomic radius will be less. So here you can see that the nuclear charge of vanadium is greater, therefore the atomic radius of vanadium is 205. Similarly, if you consider low nuclear charge, who has the lower nuclear charge? It is nothing but your scandium. So scandium has a lower nuclear charge, therefore it is obvious that it has the greatest atomic radius. So we have understood that yes, this second factor is responsible for decrease in the atomic radii as we move from left to right. But here, can I say that this nuclear charge, can I say guys, nuclear charge is going to decrease the atomic radius? Am I right? Greater the nuclear charge. So the nuclear charge, basically what is nuclear charge doing? Nuclear charge is trying to pull the electron towards itself. So can I say that the nuclear charge is going to decrease the atomic radius? So nuclear charge is trying to decrease the atomic radius. But here we have the third effect, which is nothing but the shielding effect. So let's understand how shielding effect is going to affect the atomic radius. Okay, so here we have already drawn the two energy levels. Moving on to the third energy level. So when I draw the third energy level, as you can see inside the third energy level, there are these 2 electrons plus these 6 electrons. So 2 plus 6 is going to give you 8. For while I am not considering this. Okay, so 2, 4, 6 and 8. Okay, and here in the fourth energy level, so in the fourth energy level there are 2 electrons, the first electron and the second electron. Is this clear? This till here it is easy. Now here for titanium I consider this third energy level which has 2 electrons, this third energy level which has 6 electrons. So 2 plus 6 is going to give me 8. Okay, again I am repeating myself, I am not considering this 3D for a while. Okay, and in the fourth energy level, inside this fourth energy level there are 2 electrons. Similarly over here inside the vanadium in the third energy level we have this 2 plus 6, 8 electrons. Then for in the fourth energy level there are again 2 electrons present. Now here comes the real twist. See, scandium has 3D1, titanium has 3D2 and vanadium has 3D3. Now before assuming this, including these 3D electrons, can I say that the shielding effect experienced by all three is same? See, the second energy level is experiencing the shielding effect by 2 first energy level electrons. Here also the second energy level is experiencing the shielding effect by two first energy level electrons. Similarly, over here, the second energy level electrons are experiencing the shielding effect by the two first energy level electrons. Similarly, you can see over here that these third energy level electrons are experiencing shielding effect by 8 second energy level electrons. Here also the third energy level electrons are experiencing shielding effect by the 8 second energy level electrons. Similarly, over here the 8 third energy level electrons are experiencing shielding effect by 8 second energy level electrons. Similarly, in the last energy level, so the last fourth energy level is experiencing shielding effect by 8 electrons present inside the third energy level. Here also it is experiencing shielding effect by 8 electrons present inside the third energy level, and vanadium is also the fourth energy level of vanadium is also experiencing shielding effect by 8 electrons present inside the third energy level. Now, what you need to look out for here is that if you if you add 3d1, so can I say that one electron is getting added over here? Am I right? If you include 3d2, so can I say that here two more electrons are getting added? I am purposely showing them by different color. There is a reason behind this. Here, if I consider 3d3, then can I say that 3 electrons will get added? Is this clear up till now? So now can you all see here, guys? Here this one extra added electron is going to increase the shielding effect produced by the third energy level. Am I right? If you increase the electrons, here now have become 9 electrons. So 9 electrons will obviously have greater shielding effect than the previous 8 electrons. So here you have increased the shielding effect by adding 1 electron. But here the shielding effect is increased more. Why? Because you have added 2 more electrons. So the shielding effect has now increased more as compared to this one. Here also you have increased, here also you have increased. But here the shielding effect is increased more as compared to here. So can I say that titanium is going to have greater shielding effect than scandium? Similarly, if you consider titanium and vanadium, so can I say, guys, that here you are adding 3 more electrons. Now since more electrons are getting added as compared to titanium, therefore it is obvious that these more electrons will provide more shielding effect to the fourth energy level. Am I right? So can I say that vanadium is going to have greater shielding effect than titanium? So this is the relation between three of them. Now, what is the job of the shielding effect? The job of the shielding effect is to not allow the electrons to come closer to the nucleus. Now, if it is not allowing the electrons to come closer to the nucleus, then can I say that the size of the electron, that is the atomic radii, is not going to decrease? And if it is not going to decrease, so can I say that the shielding effect is inversely proportional to nuclear charge? Why I am saying so? Because if the shielding effect is greater, then the nuclear charge experienced by the outer shell electrons will be less. Am I right? They are providing a shielding effect for the outer shell electrons. So if the shielding effect is greater, then they are not allowing the nuclear charge to pull these electrons towards itself. So if the shielding effect is greater, then it is obvious that the nuclear charge experienced will also be less. Now, As we all know that this nuclear charge we have done just now over here, that this nuclear charge is inversely proportional to atomic radius. So can I write over here as, since nuclear charge is inversely proportional to atomic radius. Okay, now understand the relation over here. If you increase the shielding effect, the nuclear charge is going to decrease. If you decrease the nuclear charge, then can I say that this atomic radius is going to increase? They are inversely proportional to each other. So if you increase this thing, then the atomic radius is going, sorry, if you decrease the nuclear charge, then the atomic radius is going to increase. Similarly, can I say that the shielding, if you decrease the shielding effect, then it is obvious that the nuclear charge is going to increase. So less shielding effect, greater the nuclear charge. Similarly, can I say that the atomic radius is now going to decrease? If there is greater nuclear charge, then the atomic radius is going to decrease. Now, can I relate both of them? Can I relate shielding effect and atomic radius as shielding effect directly proportional to atomic radius, which means that if I increase the shielding effect, the atomic radius is going to increase. Okay, if I decrease the shielding effect, the atomic radius is going to decrease. So can I say, guys, that shielding effect is trying to increase the atomic radius? That is, it is not allowing the atomic radius to shrink, which means that it wants the atomic radius to be greater. If it is not allowing the electrons to come closer, which means that it is virtually trying to maintain the size by pushing them. So when it is pushing, can I say that it is increasing? So here, if you observe one thing carefully, that nuclear charge is trying to decrease the atomic radius, and that what is true, the atomic radius is decreasing. Can you see, from 230 to 215 to 205? But yes, while the atomic radius is decreasing, but this effect of nuclear charge is being reduced by shielding effect. I hope you're understanding. This effect of nuclear charge of decreasing the atomic radius is reduced by the shielding effect. Why? Because this shielding effect is not allowing the nuclear charge to pull the electrons with greater force. Therefore, that is the reason that the size is not decreasing drastically. Instead, it is decreasing by a very small amount. Okay, so as you move from left to right, it is obvious that the atomic size is going to decrease, but it is not going to decrease drastically, as you have seen in the S and P block. So yes, similarly like the S block and P block, the D block is also going to decrease the size as you move from left to right, but the only exception is that the D block size is not going to decrease drastically. It is going to decrease in small amounts, only because of the shielding effect which is getting added because of these D electrons. So on the basis of what we have seen up till now, can I conclude, guys, that as you are moving from left to right, the size of the atomic radius is going to decrease. So as you move from potassium to calcium, the size is going to decrease drastically because they both are S block elements. Again, as you move from calcium to scandium, the atomic radius is going to decrease. And as you move from scandium to titanium, the size is going to decrease, but it is not going to decrease drastically because they are D block elements. And as you move from titanium to vanadium, again the size is going to decrease. And this will go on up to krypton. Okay, so what we have understood up till now is that as you move from left to right, the size is obviously going to decrease, but for the S block and P block elements, the size is going to decrease drastically, whereas for the D block elements, the size is going to decrease in small quantities. Now, this is not the case only for the fourth period, but if you consider any period starting from the first period up to seventh period, all of them will show a decrease in the atomic radius as you move from left to right. Now you might be wondering that in our fourth period there are no F block elements present. Now for the F block elements, just like the D block elements, the size is going to decrease as you move from left to right, but here again the decrease is not going to be drastic, but instead it will be in small quantities. You can try for two F block elements, first two F block elements, and you all can comment the answer whether it is decreasing or not in the comment section below. Actually, I could have stretched this topic on atomic radius for minimum 3 to 4 hours. But guys, it is not possible when I am teaching you all online, because when I am teaching on YouTube, it is most preferred by the students to cover many topics in a short while. Okay, so for me it is not convenient to go into more depth as I am teaching on YouTube. Anyways, if you have any doubt, you all can ask me on my email ID. The email ID is given in the description box below. Now, so we have understood the how the atomic radius decreases as you move from left to right in the period. So guys, after understanding how the atomic radius varies as we move across the period, now it is time for us to understand how the atomic radius is going to vary as we move along the group from top to bottom. So for our better understanding, let us consider the first group. Okay, so it was observed that the atomic radius of lithium turns out to be 152 picometer. The atomic radius of sodium is 227 picometer. The atomic radius of potassium is 280 picometer. The atomic radius of rubidium is nothing but 290 picometer. And as we move down, after rubidium comes your cesium. So the atomic radius of cesium is 343 picometers, and the atomic radius of francium Fr turns out to be 348 picometer. So what you observe over here is that, see, as you are moving down, that is as you are moving from lithium to sodium, the atomic radius is changing from 152 picometer to 227 picometer. Again, as you move from sodium to potassium, the atomic radius is again increasing from 227 picometer to 280 picometer. So can I conclude guys that as you are moving from top to bottom in a group, the atomic radius is increasing. Now, why it is increasing? So for understanding that, I am not going to consider all the elements, but I will consider the first two, that is lithium and sodium. So there are basically three factors that are responsible for the atomic radius. Am I right? So before understanding those three factors, I would like to draw the diagrammatic representation which helps us to understand them in a better way. So what is the electronic configuration of lithium? It is nothing but 1s2 2s1. Am I right? And the electronic configuration of sodium is nothing but 1s2 2s2 2p6 3s1. So here can I say that there are 2 plus 1 3 protons in the nucleus of lithium. And in the first energy level there are two electrons, the first electron and the second electron. Now in the second energy level there is only one electron present. Am I right? Now when I draw for sodium, the atomic number of sodium is 11, therefore it is obvious that there will be 11 protons present in the nucleus. Okay, so here can I say guys that in the first energy level there are 2 electrons. In the second energy level there are 2 plus 6 8 electrons. In the third energy level, there is only one electron. Now, let's understand the first factor. What was our first factor? Number of energy levels. So guys, if you see over here that lithium is having 2 energy levels, whereas sodium is having 3 energy levels. So it is obvious guys that if the number of energy levels is greater, then the size of atom will be obviously greater, and if the size of atom is greater, then it is obvious that the atomic radius will also be greater. So this is the first and the most important factor for the increase in atomic radius as we move from lithium to sodium. So the difference between lithium and sodium is that lithium has only 2 energy levels and sodium has 3 different energy levels, and since it has 3 different energy levels, therefore its atomic radius is greater. Okay, now the second factor. What is our second factor? Nuclear charge. Okay, now you might say here that the nuclear charge of sodium is greater and the nuclear charge of lithium is less. Yes, it is true that the nuclear charge of sodium is greater, but guys, when you consider the three factors, the first factor, that is the number of energy level, is dominant if as compared to nuclear charge. Yes, nuclear charge over here will try to pull the electrons closer towards itself, no doubt about that. But guys, if the energy level is greater, then it is obvious that the atomic size will be greater, and how much it is going to pull, how much these 11 protons are going to pull so many electrons over here. Yes, it will surely pull them closer, but it won't dominate the first factor, that is the number of energy levels. So you just set one thing in mind, that if the number of energy levels is greater, then it is obvious it is going to be the that the number of the atomic radius is also going to be greater. So if the number of energy levels is greater, then there is no comparison between both of them, the atomic radius has to be greater. So you don't have to worry about the remaining two factors, that is the nuclear charge and the shielding effect. Why you don't have to worry? Because this first factor is enough to distinguish between the atomic radius, and even if both of them are present, then they won't dominate the first factor. The first factor is the king of all three. If the first factor is distinguishable, then there is no doubt about the atomic radius. Then it has to be that the atomic radius of the greater number of energy levels will be greater. So guys, what we have seen is that if you compare two elements and if one element has greater number of energy levels, then it is obvious that the element having greater number of energy levels is going to have greater atomic radius irrespective of nuclear charge and shielding effect, because nuclear charge and shielding effect will have less impact as compared to the number of energy levels. Okay, so now guys, so can I say that as we move from top to bottom, suppose if you consider the first group, and as you move from lithium to francium, then it is obvious that the size of the atomic radius of an element is going to decrease as we move one period below. So if you move from lithium to sodium, the size is going to increase. As you move from sodium to potassium, again the size is going to increase, and so on. Now this is not the case only for the first group, but this applies to all the groups. So if you consider any group and if you move from top to bottom, then it is obvious that the size of an uh, atomic radius is going to increase because the energy levels here are increasing. So here guys, we complete our first property, that is the atomic radius, how it varies as we move across the period and how it varies as we move along the group. So guys, do check out my channel where I have uploaded physics and chemistry videos. They might be helpful for you all. And guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more such interesting videos. Thank you for watching this video.